Mayfield, possibly out of Cleveland. You want to be a boss? That's how you be a boss. I did. I made a mistake. Hey, good morning. I went shopping yesterday. What do you think? A nice blue polo blue shows up well on TV, although I'm not sure I'm supposed to show blue when I have a blue background, but I saw it and I liked it. What are you going to do? Hey, do yourself a favor, okay? I'm not really going to get into this. I'm going to wait and see how this whole thing plays out. But do yourself a favor. There is no reason for anybody to put racist or anti-Semitic messages on your social media. How about this yesterday? Yeezy, or Yee, whatever his name is, gets escorted out of Skechers. I feel like Kanye West is just kind of wandering around hoping that somebody will hire him now. You know, Adidas got rid of him. A bunch of different places got rid of him. So I'm thinking to myself, let's not do that. There's a kid from Michigan, a running back, who did the same thing. He shared stuff, racist stuff, and now, look, people are looking at him. Do yourself a favor. Life is hard enough. Okay, and people will switch what you say the more popular you get. So don't make it easy for them by putting out blatantly racist, stupid, anti-Semitic stuff. And I say this as a guy who they tried to cancel because I said I wouldn't go in a pool with a woman that wasn't my wife. So I know how people switch things, but just don't do it. I'm watching what's happening to Kanye West here, and I'm going, you dumbass. Seriously, I mean, how stupid are you? What'd you get out of that? Like, what did you get out of going, well, I tweeted stuff. Yeah, I showed him. You what? You say what? You did what? Urban Meyer is going to join us. Bella Rasmussen is going to join us in 15 minutes. Now, you got to hear this story. So Bella Rasmussen becomes the first girl to score touchdowns in a regular high school game. She scored 2 of them in California. And I did a little research on Bella Rasmussen, and man, do I like her. She's all about toughness. She's all about heart. She just wants to compete. I can't wait to talk to Bella. Now, that is in stark contrast to what we've been talking about on this show forever. Since we started this show and Leah Thomas got into our social consciousness. I've said this forever, and I'll keep saying this forever, and it probably bores you, but I don't care. It's one of the reasons I left ESPN, so I can talk about issues like this, attacks on women. Attacks on women in sports, attacks on children. We see it almost daily. We feel it almost daily. Women are under attack. The transgender community feels like if you say the word transgender and you don't say love and blah, 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 then you're a, quote, hater, a racist, a bigot, and you need to be canceled. I say that's all crap. I say it needs to be open for real discussion. So here we go. A transgender volleyball player who, because for whatever the reason, we have an attack on women, but for whatever the reason, a transgender volleyball player decides, well, I'm going to transition from a man to a woman. And going from a man to a woman, for whatever the reason, she gets to play with the girls. He, she, whatever. Gets to play with the girls. Transition from a woman to a man, and you still play with the girls. Explain that one to me, Spanky. So a transgender volleyball player, let's show the clip, does this right here. Here's what she does. Watch this spike. Boom. Right in the face of a unsuspecting female volleyball player. Now, you say whatever you want, but the attack on women is real. My wife is a legend in the world of softball, an All-American. She did what Bella Rasmussen did, but not at her level. She played football against the boys all the way up until 8th grade, and she was the best running back in the league. I have an incredible affinity for women's sports. As you know, my stepdaughter plays third base for the Harvard softball team. I love the girls of the Harvard softball team. They're a freaking blast. They come over to the house. They spend weeks here. It's awesome. You kidding me? But why the attack on women? I don't get it. I will never get it. So this transgender volleyball player decides, well, not only am I going to smack the living hell out of this shot into the face of somebody, and let's be honest, clearly not as strong, but I'm going to put it on my highlight reel for coaches to see. Hey, good for her. But I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why the attack on women continues. Women are strong. Women are tough. Women can play sports. Women can do whatever it is that men can do and do it with greater toughness, at least in my opinion. I mean, none one of us could ever push a baby out. Let's just get that straight right here. I mean, we would whine, cry, blank, moan. Well, imagine last time you got the sniffles. Compare that to when your wife got the sniffles. Your wife probably went out and mowed the grass, did 1,000 different things while you laid on the couch in a prone position. Don't even try to talk to me about the difference in toughness. Women are every bit as tough, if not tougher. But the attack on women stinks. I hate it. The attack on children stinks. I hate it. Every day we see, every day, little kids subjected to drag shows. Why? Sponsored by schools. Why? Why can't we just let kids be kids? Why can't we just let women compete? Why do we have to make so many different rules and show our diversity? I guess that's what our show, I think it shows our insanity. But there are people, there are women like Bella Rasmussen that prove exactly what my point is. Tough, strong, determined, with great heart. That's the women that I see. That's the women I always have had in my life. And I'm really proud. I know Bella's on here. Let me know when she's ready. I'd love to talk to her because she's absolutely spectacular. But that's what I see in this world. I'm just tired. If you are transgendering from a boy to a girl, you play with the boys. Or play with the girls. If you're transgendering from a girl to a boy, you play with the girls. Why? Why do both play with the girls? I don't understand it. I'll never understand it. But it is what it is. I like Bella Rasmussen because she said, look, I want to play. You know, my wife asked me for Christmas, this is a true story. She said, can you give me full pads of the Dallas Cowboys? I'm like, yeah, but as a 53-year-old woman, I don't know what to tell you. What are you going to do with it? She goes, I don't know. That's the world I live in, and that's why Bella is special. Bella, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi.
Hey, Bella, are you skipping school right now?
No, school doesn't start for another like 2.5 hours.
Oh, good. They told me you were walking out of school. All right, we're going to show video of you. Can we show it? Scoring a couple of touchdowns here. Now, I love this video. You're my wife's idol. Absolutely her idol. Can we show it?
Yes, of course.
Here it is. Walk me through this. You saw the hole.
Yeah, so
you just
so that's a play that me and my coach, we've ran, oh my gosh, hundreds of times over the last 4 years. And I kind of knew it was going to be on a run play and I was going to score it all. And so he had me run giant left and it opened up and we just hit the hole. But you know what's funny is actually our whole line, we actually both got opposite calls. So me and the quarterback, we got a giant call and our whole line got a zone call, which are two different plays when it comes to what the line is running. And it still worked out. We still scored. So it was actually pretty funny when we all came out the field. We were like, did you run something different? And they were like, yeah, we did. And I'm like, okay, well, it worked out. So it's fine. But yeah, it was pretty great. So we got in the end zone.
So
and I just remember like, wow.
When you ran it different, is that just a read? Was that just something you read?
No, so on Giant, we have polars, and on Zone, we don't have polars. So it's just the lines protection is different.
Bella, Bella,
when did you start playing football? What attracted you to football?
My cousin and my brother and my family friend, they played when I was younger, when I was like 3 years old, when I first moved to Irvine. And I watched them play football for 3 years. I would go to all their games and all their practices. And, after a while, I told my mom, I just really want to play football. Like, just let me go in the game. And, we were looking into the same program, and they started me out, or they wanted to at least, with flag football. But they didn't have any flag football leagues. So I just told my mom, I'll just play tackle then. And I've been here ever since.
So when you
started playing, what was the boys' reaction? What was everybody's reaction? I'm going to assume everybody that you started playing with knew you were a terrific athlete.
So definitely people were skeptical at first. I mean, there was obviously a ton of supportive people on my team, but there was, of course, the people who didn't want me there. And it was pretty obvious, but I think that was a huge thing where girls playing football at the time that I joined was such a new concept. It really wasn't talked about or even thought of before. So people just weren't used to it. And I definitely got a lot of negative reactions, coaches who made it very obvious that they did not want me on their team. But I think that was a huge part of the way that I grew up. Was my parents always taught me to face adversity and take it head on. And I think it's shaped me into who I am. And I honestly, I have no resentment towards the way that I was treated when I was 6, 7 years old on a football team, because I think it's made me be able to take the comments and negativity now, for sure.
What was, this is 2020 or 22, when my wife did it. She didn't play in high school, but she played in grade school. That was like in 1990 or something like that. We're supposed to be more involved and understand that people are athletes. What were the comments? What was the issue that people had?
It wasn't anything that was a problem in high school, of course. Just to be clear, it wasn't anything that I've had in the last 4 years. But, there was just people that were like, it's just kids being kids, obviously. And then parents who, it's not even stuff they would say, but they'd like, just make it obvious that they didn't want me there. So if they would try and like break me down on the field. So, we had hitting drills, and they knew that like, if they put me up against some of their hardest hitters, it wasn't because they were it's not because they believed in me, it's because they were trying to get me to get scared of being hit and scared of being tackled so that I'd quit the team. And it was like, it's one of those things where it was probably just in my head at first, but then it was proven day in and day out at each practice that they were genuinely trying to get me to quit the team. They wouldn't give me reps. They wouldn't want to put me in, which is funny because in youth football, we have must plays. So you have to get reps. So it was pretty, want me there.
Did that motivate you even more? Did you get stubborn?
Yeah, for sure. It had a huge influence because, the first year was definitely difficult, but then the second year, my mom was like, "Are you going to play football again this year?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And then I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again. And, I took a break in my 8th grade year. I didn't play football in my 8th grade year. And I remember I used to go to my brother's football games because he was on varsity when I was in 8th grade, and I went to go watch him play. And I remember thinking, why didn't I play this year? And so I remember that's why I joined. And, the motivation of knowing that it was going to make so many people upset for me to go out and do this thing was almost enjoyable, because I was like, you don't want me there. Let me tell you all the reasons why I should be there.
Yeah. One of your teammates, I was reading this, one of your teammates, James Golden, says, "I like to surround myself with people who are strong, hardworking, tough." And I'd say she checks all the boxes. I would add this, physically is one thing, but mentally tough to handle all this makes you special, the way I look at this. What, do you understand this is probably more mental than physical for you?
Yeah, for sure, because I think the physical toughness kind of came with youth football. I think I got used to being able to get hit and being able to get hurt and get back up. I think that came pretty early. But there's definitely a lot of mental toughness that comes with being able to handle the practice schedule where you're there all day long, or you're involved all the time. Being able to, it's such a physically demanding sport, and being able to train your body to be able to face that and be able to take it and not break down because of it. I think that's huge. Like, that's a huge mental game, all of football is really, because, you make a mistake during a game, you make a mistake on the field, it can be damaging. You're sitting there, you're like freaking out, but I think that it's all part of, you have to be able to train yourself to be able to just say, okay, you know what, just do it. You're going to be fine. You got to just go, you know?
You mentioned, just kids. And, boys, I raised boys. Boys can be idiots, right? I mean, complete stone cold idiots. So how have the guys whose asses you've kicked responded to getting whooped by you?
Yeah, I mean, most of them think they think it's pretty cool. They talk pretty highly of me here. It's pretty cool. I remember this year, actually, we just came out of a hitting drill, and one of the kids he's like one of our hardest hitters. He's a huge kid. And I remember, and he hit me pretty hard, and he took me to the ground, and I was like, okay. And I remember it hurt my shoulder pretty bad. He goes up to me, and I didn't even say anything to him. And he goes, I'm not gonna lie to you, my head is ringing so bad right now. He's like, and one of my other teammates was like, yeah, Bella's the only one who lowers her frame, and it hurts. And I remember I just thought that was the funniest thing, because it was something that you won't really hear. Like, you're never gonna hear a guy fully come out and say, oh yeah, this girl hit me and it actually caused me some pain. So they're all pretty much like, they're pretty proud. They're definitely accepting of the fact that it's like, yeah, she's gonna hit you, she's gonna play the game. It's pretty cool.
How about opponents and the fans?
So that actually has been kind of 50-50. I get some people who see me on the field and they're definitely like, oh, it's a girl, but they don't really like. It's not like they try to hit me harder because I'm a girl. It's not like they want to play harder because I'm a girl. They're mainly just like confused, I think, at first. But then after that, they're always, just super like they just want to play the game the same way I just want to play the game. But after the Godinez game, actually, I walked over to go to my locker room, and I had to walk past their sideline, and there was 3 or 4 players on their team, including a girl, and they told me, they were like, "You're such a great runner," and they were being so inclusive, and they were saying how proud they are that I played football, and it was really cool to listen to, especially because we had just beat them, and it was really respectable.
Now that, you were with the Chargers this weekend, everybody knows now, obviously, you're not slipping under the radar when you go to a game now, right? I mean, this is going to be, there may be some boys that want to prove it against you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was funny because I went on Twitter the day after the game, and there was like 3 or 4 posts of pictures of me on the sideline saying like, coming to watch Bella play football. And I was like, you guys are coming to watch me play football now? Like, okay. It's pretty crazy. It's definitely not something that I can get away from now. Not that I would want to.
Bella, when you look and you made the decision, okay, I'm going to play, and your parents, supported it. How do you? Was there any, like, did the school district say we can't do this? Was there any of that kind of stuff?
She had to go through?
No, definitely not. I mean, our school is really inclusive when it comes to all sports in general, whether that's a girl playing football or not. They've never were like, oh, this might be kind of difficult. I'm not sure how we're going to do this. The only thing that was ever talked about me playing football was the locker room situation for away games, which I just change in the girls' locker room, or I'll change in the girls' bathroom. It's never been a problem. But no, there was never any adversity of like, oh, this is going to be something that we have to figure out. It's going to be an inconvenience. There was never any of that. Everybody was always so supportive, and like they were super excited, and so were the coaches. I think the coaches were definitely watching the first day I played football to see how I handled contact, if I could, play the sport and be able to deliver a hit and all that. But I think that they were all pretty excited for me to be there. I don't think there was anything unsupportive.
Well, speaking as a former coach, yeah, I got someone that can rush for 2 touchdowns. Of course they're excited. They got a baller. What are you talking? What's wrong? But let me ask you, Bella, when you were coming up and you decided to play, did the coaches know that you were somebody that was going to be in the rotation, that was going to, score a couple touchdowns, be a full-time player?
I'm not really sure. They knew that I had played football before. I know they knew that I had played youth football, or at least some of my coaches did. I don't know if they planned on me being part of the rotation, but I mean, when I was starting the 8th grade summer camps, or the spring camps that kind of get you used to playing football and teach you the basics, I think they could kind of tell that I had a knowledge of football. I knew what I was doing. But I definitely don't think that any of them really expected me to score, let alone score twice in a varsity game. I think when I scored on JV, everybody was already pretty excited and pretty shocked about it. So I think that this whole situation has been kind of year by year where they're just amazed. I think they're just surprised as I am, where they're, I'm battling through it and they're there to support me and catch me when I make mistakes. And, I think it's without them, I couldn't have done it the same way that, it's just something that they want to see me contribute to the team,
You seem, like I'm reading about you that you're a tough person. Were you worried at all that maybe the coaches were going to coach you differently, and have they?
No. So I definitely think that the first couple days, like I said, I think they were trying to figure out how I was going to play, if I could take a hit, blah, blah, blah. But no, I don't think that they've ever tried to coach me differently. I think that they put me in the same drills. They expect me to do the same things as every other guy. They want to see me play the game. It's like, if you're going to be here, if you're going to dedicate the time to our team, you're going to be a team player. You're going to do all the same drills. This isn't, you're a girl, so you get special privileges. It's like out here, we're all just football players.
I'm going to get back to the locker room thing in a minute, and how adults would have screwed that up, and I'm surprised they didn't screw that up. But I do want to ask you, have you seen like little girls in the community get inspired by you? Have you felt that?
Yeah, so like I got a couple things about that. There was a girl, she played on our JV team this year. Her name is Mitzi. She played kicker. And I remember she came and played football because she heard that I was on the team. And so when I met her, she was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so awesome to meet you." And I thought that was so cool because I never even thought about maybe people, like other little girls are watching me wanting to play football until, the last like 2-3 years. But then as well, last Friday night, we had all of our mini cheerleaders, where they have like the little girls and they come and cheer for a game. And apparently one of the moms told me last night at one of our team dinners, she said that they all had gathered around my senior poster and they were all like freaking out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's her. Like, that's so cool." And I thought that was so cute. Getting on the sideline during the game and I could hear somebody saying my name and I was like, "What is that?" And I turned around, there was like 6 or 7 of the little girls and they're all like, "Hi." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, hi guys." They were so cute. So I definitely think it's been an influence, especially since we live in such a small town, everybody knows everybody. So I definitely think it's been influential for them.
I think it'll be interesting to see what happens 5 years from now, how many women you have inspired to play, right?
I'm excited to see where women go in football, whether that's like actually having a real tackle football league, which I think that there's something like that that's kind of come out since I scored and since all this publicity. But I just hope to see in the future to see a couple girls, 3, 4, maybe more playing on the Laguna Beach football team. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You were so matter of fact, and I think this is so cool. When I said I was having you on, a couple guys said, "Well, what's the locker room situation?" And my wife, who is an All-American softball player, played tackle football, she goes, "What are you talking about? She'll dress in a girls' locker room, and it's no big deal. Adults can screw things up." And you just said, "Hey, look, I just go over here. It's easy."
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that people definitely ask all the time. People sometimes automatically assume that I've changed in the boys' locker room, and I'm like, why would I do that? But yeah, no, I just changed in the girls' locker room, and whenever we're having team meetings and everything, basically like a coach or a player will walk in and make sure none of the boys are still changing, and then I just sit in there when we were doing like film or whatever. And then when we have away games, typically I'll already have like changed into my pants and my gear and everything, so I don't have to change when I get there. So that's never an issue. And if it's a really far away game, I'll just go find the girls' bathroom, It's something that's never, ever even been.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, what do you want to do next? What's next?
So, I've thought about going to either University of Utah, CU Boulder, or University of Oregon. And I'm in a debate of studying whether that's interior design or communications, because I thought about doing wedding planning or party planning because I love the holidays, so that would be super cool. But communications would more lead into sports broadcasting because now I have all this knowledge of football, and it'd be super cool to go to like NFL games and be the one on the field to ask these players questions because I would actually understand the game and understand what happened. So, there's 2 completely different pathways there, but I haven't really decided which one I want to pursue just yet.
Well, I mean, Will you try out if you go to college? Will you try to walk on a football team?
So, if I got the opportunity to play football, I would definitely take it, but that hasn't been something that has been talked about just yet. Obviously, it's been talked about, but it hasn't really been offered to me at the moment. So I don't know if I'd walk on just because it just hasn't been something I've really thought about. But if it was given to me, like if somebody actually offered for me to go play football at their school, of course I would take it. To go play football at the next level would be groundbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be, particularly as a running back. I mean, you realize you're going to be CEO of a company, or you're going to be the next or the first NFL color analyst, because you're unbelievable here. Like when I was in high school and I would do interviews, I would be like, but you're killing it. You're going to be like CEO of the world.
Yeah.
Seriously, let me ask you this. With all this attention, how much more comfortable are you, with public speaking? Because it's not the easiest thing. It's actually one of people's two biggest fears, dying and public speaking.
So, I've never really been a shy person. I mean, I should take that back. I can be pretty shy, but I've never had trouble like giving presentations in school or anything like that. That's not really something that scares me. And I guess for me, when I'm doing all these interviews or talking to people, I just imagine that I'm having a conversation with one of my friends. Because to me, that's kind of what it is. If I just imagine it as like, oh, it's not that people are watching, it's not that people are listening. I'm just trying to tell people where I come from, what my story is. It's a lot easier. I don't really get scared. I don't know how to explain it, because a lot of people ask me that. They're like, how are you able to just talk during interviews? And I'm just like, I don't know. It just kind of happens. But I'm not a shy person.
That's a skill that a lot of people just simply don't have. I mean, and it's wonderful. Hey, last thing before I let you go. Do you play any other sports?
I ran track my freshman and sophomore year, and I played basketball last year. But other than that, no, it's just been football my whole life. I guess I played volleyball for like 2 months, but other than that, no, it's just been football. Basketball was the first girls team that I'd actually been a part of, like all girls team. So it was very different. But yeah, that was the first time that I'd really played any other sports, but football has been the main one.
So every other team had been boys you played on?
Yeah, I mean, because track is boys and girls short distance, and then the volleyball team I played on was like a co-ed thing, so yeah.
Bella, you're great, man. Rooting for you. And I'm going to be, be a while. I'll be old and decrepit, but I'm going to turn on CBS and I'm going to say, there's Bella. She's killing it with Jim Nantz or whatever on a football game. You're a natural. Thank you.
So much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. How much fun is that, man? Bella Rasmussen scored 2 touchdowns, first woman ever to do that in the state of California, and I'm guessing everywhere. I mean, and a fantastic, fantastic interview. I got to tell you, the way I look at the world, man, would I be proud if I were her parents. Now, you got to understand my background. Lee wants a daggone Dallas Cowboys full uniform with shoulder pads, so she's sniffing around to play football in the neighborhood against kids. So I love women's sports. I love women that are tough. I love smart women. And I hate what we're doing to women. I hate that we are marginalizing them. You become a woman and then you tell women how to do it. I hate it. I freaking hate it. Don't at me about it. I freaking hate it. What we're doing to women and children. And Bella is an absolute shining light in a bunch of darkness. All right, we're going to come back. I got a sitting congressman that tells us who is actually running the country. I know DJ Durkin. Bidding war, Texas A&M won it, but did they really? LeBron's team still stinks. Matt Ryan spoke yesterday about getting demoted. I got a bunch of stuff to get to. Stay right here. Tell your friends. I got my light going.
Was there a moment that you always look back to from Black Hawk Down and you said to yourself in that moment, I am not making it out. Like, I will not survive today because of this one thing?
It was kind of the entire day, the entire night. There was a portion of time, I think, in the middle of the night where things kind of calmed down. and it wasn't as chaotic, and we were just kind of sitting waiting for guys in helicopters to get, extricated and things like that. And it wasn't until the sun started to kind of peak back up where you're like, oh, this is going to turn back on again. But for the initial assault and, 2 or 3 times that I went out into the city, it was just, I don't think any of us are going to make it out alive. And so every time we would kind of get back and be secure and all right, get more ammo, and we're going back out to try and find this other crash site. And I didn't think that it was happening for any of us. I kind of came to peace. I was just telling my son about this actually the other day, but I kind of came to peace with, okay, if I get hit in the chest, like I've got a plate carrier, hopefully that stops it. If I get hit in the arms or the legs, chances are I'll live. And if I get hit anywhere else, it's probably going to be pretty quick and traumatic and over. So I hope that I remember thinking specifically in the middle of the afternoon, I hope that I can just like look at the blue sky and have something peaceful to look at, not this whole, what I'm looking at in front of me. I hope that's not my last moments. And that kind of gave me a little bit of peace.
We live in a world where we marginalize women, where, women that have been men their whole lives become women and act like idiots on TikTok and get to go see Joe Biden and the rest. I mean, we've marginalized women. It was so great to see a real one right there. Right there, Bella Rasmussen. And you can kiss my ass with all the other stuff, but what I'm telling you is 1,000% true. We marginalize. We got some little idiots that are on TikTok that were boys and now they're girls, and they act like fools. They act like psychotic human beings. And next thing you know, they get in front of Joe Biden. What a world we live in. We got to vote these idiots out, and we have got to vote for sanity. If nothing else, I don't even care what party. Hey, speaking, Ralph Norman is a U.S. congressman from South Carolina. U.S. representative, and you guys lose your mind when somebody actually stands up. I mean, if you have paid attention at all to anything politically, you're going to know that what is said here by Representative Ralph Norman is absolutely true. Let's hear from Ralph Norman.
We're going to subpoena as many people as we can. We're going to hopefully have consequences, starting with Mayorkas, Ray with the FBI. I mean, a whole host of things. The whole administration is a rogue administration. And I guess we all know Joe Biden is not running this country. There is a cabal of unelected elitists who are running this country. Probably Barack Obama is involved, probably Eric Holder, but who knows? We know it's not Biden, but.
He's right. There's no question. I mean, all you got to do is pay attention. Look at Joe Biden. All right, look at Joe Biden. And you tell me that Joe Biden is running this country. The dude doesn't even know where he is. And if you really pay attention, I know, well, it's a conspiracy theory. Why is it that all of these supposed right-wing conspiracy theories have come true? Why is it that the Hillary Clinton paid-for Russian dossier was false? Why is it? And somebody stands out there and says, and I got idiot former reporters and a media guy said, well, yeah, some half-baked representative from South Carolina. What are you talking about? These are people that are inside. These are people that know. Go see what Tulsi Gabbard says about the warmongering. It's freaking, if you believe that Joe Biden is literally the one running this country, then you're a fool. Can you imagine on a daily basis, this is what I say, can you imagine on a daily basis what it is like to be around Joe Biden. I mean, the guy can't think. The guy doesn't know where he is. They have had to, according to a friend of mine that works in and around the White House, move cables because the way he walks, he shuffles, he's going to trip. I mean, if you think for a second that Joe Biden is running and behind this and capable in thought to do these things, you're out of your mind. I mean, look, the oligarchy isn't a fake thing. Eventually, it'll come out. Why do you think all of these old white people, and think about who is running this country, old white people. You can talk about diversity all you want. Leary, old white guy. What's-her-face, Pelosi, old white guy. Biden, old white guy. Who do you think Moynihan, old white, well, I don't know if he's even around. Shermer, I meant him, old white guy. That's who's running this. What are you, nuts? So you can act like you're diverse, but old white people are still screwing this thing up. And if you don't think there's an oligarchy, if you don't think there's a cabal, you're out of your mind. And good for you if you don't. You live in a world where you're willing to accept all of this crap in the support of power. God bless you. Good for you. Yay, rah, go fight, win. But that's the first thing that happens. The first thing that happens is, well, this idiot. Okay. Ben Smith, who was a former writer in Fort Wayne. Wow, how many drugs is this guy on? Okay, Ben Smith. Ben Smith couldn't get couldn't figure out the difference between somebody on a school board and somebody that was the superintendent of a school. So I would ask Ben Smith, how many drugs you on? I'm just saying. It's amazing stuff, man. All right, let's continue. We know that there is a complete train wreck at Texas A&M. We know that Texas A&M is an absolute mess. I mean a freaking train wreck mess. The greatest recruiting class in the history of football has 3 guys doing whatever in a locker room before a game. They get suspended. Now Lane Kiffin had a defensive coordinator named DJ Durkin. I know DJ Durkin. DJ Durkin was a graduate assistant, actually was a player at Bowling Green, then became a graduate assistant for Urban Meyer. I'm at a party one night. Urban had Rocky Bleier speak at this party, a bunch of boosters. I'm there. Guys are getting drunk. They're throwing people in the pool. DJ Durkin, as a grad assistant, tried to throw me in the pool. I picked up a chair. I said, you come near me, I'm going to whack you over the head with this chair and beat the hell out of you. I didn't go in the pool. DJ Durkin is a guy I like. He becomes a coach. He becomes a coach at Maryland, has a problem. He's out. But he is apparently, because of his association, I guess, defensively with great coaches, he's a defensive coordinator that is of some repute. He's working for Lane Kiffin. Here comes Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher wants DJ Durkin. So it's kind of a common theme in that program is what Lane Kiffin said about Texas A&M as he was outbid for the services of DJ Durkin. It's kind of a common theme, meaning what Texas A&M does is buy everybody. Let's make no mistake. I can go back to when Nick Saban was talking about Jimbo Fisher. Nick Saban didn't slip. Nick Saban didn't talk. Nick Saban didn't do anything other than spew what every coach is spewing and knowing, and that's Texas A&M, according to coaches, according to those that they beat out for players, bought the players. They bought DJ Durkin, according to Lane Kiffin, and as he said, it's kind of a common thing. But the common thing is, well, Lane Kiffin keeps winning. Lane Kiffin keeps winning, and Jimbo Fisher keeps losing 3-4. I love Kevin Sumlin. I'm a big Kevin Sumlin fan. Purdue guy, I thought he did a terrific job at Texas A&M. They got Kevin Sumlin out of there. Hey, look, I get it. I get it. You got to get a new guy in there, the hot mama, which is Jimbo Fisher. He's the hot dude, baby. So Sumlin out, look at the records, and away we go. Hey, look, I understand people, particularly boosters, say we've hit our ceiling. The next guy's going to be better. Hell, I did it as a coach. I thought I hit my ceiling and I wanted better athletes, and I took lesser personality that fit me. Not bad guys, just didn't fit me, but they were a little more talented. So the truth of the matter is, I love it. I love that Lane Kiffin is calling people out. I love that Lane Kiffin isn't afraid to use words like that's kind of a common theme for them. It is awesome. All right, let's talk Matt Ryan. This is the Colts, man. Colts get their brains beat out. We're going to show you a little video of Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan is the coach that got beat out by Sam Ehlinger. All right, Matt Ryan decides that he doesn't decide, he has to talk yesterday because it's media day. Wednesday, media day for quarterbacks generally. So here's Matt Ryan discussing getting benched while his teammates play ping pong.
Frustrated that we weren't able to do that the first 7 days. Moving forward, life in this league is week to week, and the production has to be there. So obviously disappointed personally, but here for the team.
Yeah, see, I like that. Matt Ryan is a professional. Matt Ryan isn't a whiner. Matt Ryan isn't an emotionally crazy guy. Matt Ryan is an adult male. Adult males that have bad things happen to them don't sulk, particularly don't sulk publicly. Matt Ryan got benched, and he probably knows this. He probably knows that, listen, I got benched because I'm hurt. If they continue to play me behind this line, I'm probably going to get more hurt. When I take a physical by March, if the doctor decides, and I want you to follow me here, if the doctor decides that I am too hurt, then I get $17 million, basically. They can't cut me hurt. If they do, it's another $17 million on top of what I'm going to get. So the Colts don't want him to get hurt. They realize this isn't going anywhere. When the Colts got Matt Ryan, they said it was going to be 2 years and beyond. It's obviously another failed bit of leadership by the Colts, and that's fine. That's what they do. We got no problem with it. We know this now. But I do like the fact that Matt Ryan, and this is glorious to me. This is absolutely glorious to me. Matt Ryan is talking, and this is the coach in me coming out. Matt Ryan is talking, and his teammates are, guess what? They're playing ping pong. You think they give a rat's ass? You think they care that the media is in there and the media doesn't know enough to know, well, why are these guys playing ping pong? You just got your brains beat out. You just got whooped, embarrassed, and you're playing ping pong with the media in there. That's the Colts culture. That is absolutely the Colts culture. And nobody's going to understand it. Urban Meyer will understand it. He'll also understand that you kind of got to let him do it. But it just infuriates me. Were I still a season ticket holder? If I were a season ticket holder, I would be so hostile watching Matt Ryan up there, and he's talking, and these idiots that don't care about anything other than apparently a paycheck are sitting there playing ping pong. All right, that's fine. Good for you. I know you don't understand. What's wrong with playing ping pong? What are they supposed to do? Be said yes. Yeah, act like you give a rat's ass. We know you don't. We know after the game is over, hey man, game's over. We got 24 hours. Shut up. We also know that that's why the Colts stink. That's why the Colts have stunk. That's why the Colts will continue to stink. That's why they will never get out of their funk until somebody in that building, anybody, shows a little bit of accountability. I'm sure Jimmy Irsay and his daughters decided because, well, we want our players happy. We want them to play ping pong. I'm telling you, man. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. Maybe they're playing ping pong in New England during media day with the media in there. The media in Indianapolis is too stupid to know that ain't great. They're too in pocket. I am. That ain't great. Colts suck. Tell you who doesn't is Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles have said, screw this. We're going all in. We're going to go the route of last year's champ, the Los Angeles Rams. I told you this moving forward. I told you that teams will see what the Rams did, bringing in OBJ, bringing in Von Miller. I told you, I didn't hear you, Dylan. I told you that this would happen. That teams would start bringing in guys a la baseball mid-season. So Robert Quinn, the stud pass rusher for the Bears, moves over to the Eagles. I don't know, we don't have the Roquan Smith video of him crying, do we? Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
What do you make of Robert's time here, and what do you?
Man, yeah, man, sucks. Yeah. I'm gonna take a second for a second, if you don't mind. No, I have a great deal of respect for that guy, you know. Damn. Crazy.
I like Roquan Smith. I like Roquan Smith a lot. Roquan Smith is a badass tackling machine, as our friend Sylvie said on Monday. And you can tell the care that he has for his teammates. Compare that with the Colts. Yeah, you got bench. Yeah, we got our ass beat. Yeah, we're just going to play ping pong. Really. Look, here I sit. As I'm a Colts fan, I moved there. It's my thing. But I grew up a Bears fan. Bears just had a hell of a win. On, Tuesday, after the Monday night game, the absolute stone crushing of the New England Patriots, Bear fans were excited. Hey, man, maybe we're going to get something out of this. So how does an organization repay them? They get rid of Robert Quinn, one of their best guys, and obviously by the reaction of Roquan Smith, an incredibly respected man in the locker room. There's two sides to this. One is the Eagles, where you're like, hey, man, they're trying. Their chips are all in, as the great Jim Irsay said. Then there's the other side. You're a Bear fan. You're like, what the hell happened here? Well, what are we doing? Nah, it's amazing. God dang it. I hate that this is why I'm the king. I tell you this stuff all the time. I tell it to you, I tell it to you, and I tell it to you. I've told you guys, shut up, you big-time people, about Brittany Griner. Shut up! Steph Curry is out there. Yeah, guys that have international influence think that speaking about Brittany Griner and calling her detainment unlawfully detained is stupid, because in Russia she's not unlawfully detained. According to our law, she is. Maybe our thought she is, but she is not in Russia. And you morons that have international influence, like a Steph Curry, talking about it, the Kremlin is saying, shut up. And Russia can say, shut up to the United States because, and I told you this too, there is no fear internationally for the United States. There's only mocking and laughter at how weak we have become under this president. Look, I understand everybody's got their own opinion. But son of a biscuit maker, you got to do some thinking here. Hey, we're going to say she's unlawfully detained. That crap works in the United States. Some kind of BS message where people are the victim, that works here. You know, because the media and everybody loves a victim here. We love us to make somebody out to be a victim. If you ain't a victim, you ain't trying in the United States. That don't work anywhere else. They got real problems other places. Our problems are whether we say he, her, they, them, whatever you guys want to be called. I don't care. But honest to God, when you're dealing with countries that have a lot going on, the last thing they need is to be embarrassed by idiots, basketball players, whoever, spewing nonsense, offending them. What do you think? Well, Steph Curry, a guy who throws a ball through a hoop, said she's unlawfully detained. We got to get her home. Shut up! Honest to God, everything I've told you on this show has come true. I don't know how this show isn't number one in, I don't know. It should be on a 7 to 8 every night, 8 to 10 every night. I don't know. But we tell you exactly what to do here. And what you need to do is shut the living hell up if you have international influence about Brittany frickin' Griner being unlawfully detained, because in their world, she's not. And all you're doing is offending their world, and we're too weak at the top to do anything about it. I'm done. I'm moving along. Tell you who else needs to shut the hell up. Frickin' Rory McIlroy and everybody else. He's saying now this feud between the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour is out of control. You think? Again, I told you this. Adult billionaires, millionaires fighting is idiotic. Money corrupts, people. Money corrupts. It always has, it always will. The lovely Lee Ross Dakich, the love of my life, says all the time her father taught her, mo money, mo problems. PGA Tour going along great. Next thing you know, another tour offers more money. And instead of working together, everybody now picks sides. PGA Tour looks stupid because they upped the ante on a bunch of freaking events. LIV Tour is just a LIV Tour. Look, we're going to try to poach as many as you can. We're going to buy you with money. Now, all right, let's put the graphic up about what now Rory McIlroy, who was the people's champion, says. Oh, yeah. All the time on the basis, it literally does not affect us one bit. My life is not going to change whether people go to LIV or they don't, but I care. It mightn't change our life, but it will. The guys grinding their blanks off to get a tour card. There's a lot of people in the game who don't have the voice or the platform I have, so I'm trying to speak up for them a little too. Okay. He has emerged, of course, as a popular voice, despite others asking why he has to be so voracious in his attack. Don't whine about it. You guys are going to go to a court of law. There's going to be all kind of problems. I mean, just stop. Seriously, money corrupts. That's all this is. Rory McIlroy is 1,010% accurate. It isn't going to change his life. And anybody that didn't see this coming, but I will tell you this. If I'm member of the PGA Tour, I would go, hey, wait a second here. Whoa. Why all of a sudden are you bumping up salaries? Why didn't you do this before? I mean, where was it? Why didn't you? Where was this? I mean, isn't this what you should have done the whole time? That's what I would be asking, but I'm a moron, apparently. I tell you this all the time. These two entities are going to crush one another, and it ain't going to be good. Yeah, there's guys grinding on the tour. So I would argue, well, those guys grinding to get a tour card actually have options now. Millionaires fighting millionaires is just, it's giving me gas. All right. Despite Mariano Rivera, who said that he thinks Aaron Boone should be gone, I don't know what that's about. There's got to be a backstory there because that's crap by Mariano Rivera doing that. The Yankees are expected to keep Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman after yet another disappointing postseason. Look, here's the deal. You do what you need to do. And I applaud the Yankees for doing what they're doing. When you're the Yankees manager, you know what it's going to be. It's going to be every day. Boston, New York might be the only two cities, maybe Houston now, that really care about baseball. Remember, it wasn't a few short years ago that baseball in Houston would be outrated by like the ShamWow guy. Nobody was watching. Now all of a sudden they win a championship and now they're great, and that's fantastic. But the fact of the matter is, I applaud Hal Steinbrenner and the rest for doing what others don't. He's going to keep his general manager. He's going to keep his manager. If I were running the Yankees, I would get back to what Daddy Steinbrenner, George, did and said, look, if there's a free agent pitcher out there, I want him. Or if there's a free agent important player out there, I want him. We can be a lot of things, but we can't be boring. And if you take Aaron Judge off the Yankees are boring. Name me the fourth place hitter for the Yankees. I'll give it to you, Giancarlo Stanton. Name me somebody besides Giancarlo Stanton, all right, Judge, Rizzo. You're going to say Torres. You got to be a real Yankee fan to know anybody else. Used to be, when they were winning, you knew everybody on the Yankees. Now the Yankees are boring. They just are. One of the reasons the Colts made a change at quarterbacks, because the Colts are boring. You couldn't expect people to come out there and watch the Colts. It wasn't going to happen. It was too dull. So, look, at the end of the day, they're boring. Don't be boring. Be a lot of things. Don't be boring. Speaking of not boring, the great Urban Meyer is going to join us. This is a pretty big weekend in college football. We're going to talk about a variety of things. One, everybody famously knows that Urban Meyer was 7-0 against Ohio State. My man knows how to coach rivalry games. Ohio State goes to Penn State. Ohio State got lucky, ladies and gentlemen. They don't have to play the whiteout. Urban's going to tell you, or I'll ask him, about the whiteout at Penn State and how difficult that is. Also, we're going to talk about Florida. We're going to talk about Florida, Georgia, world's biggest cocktail party. If I'm Georgia, I'm not playing in Jacksonville. Not doing it. By the way, DraftKings, simple. All you got to do, make a deposit. Bet $5 out of that deposit, and you get $200 in free bets. Look, Outkick.com/bet is where to go. It'll take you right there. We got a monster college football weekend. We got a monster NFL weekend coming up. It's huge, ladies and gentlemen, massive. And you want to get in on the action. You want to have a little fun. There it is right there. All right. The great three-time national champion Urban Meyer joins next. Dimitri, you big old stud, you're from Toronto. Why are you wearing Quentin Nelson? You a Cub fan, and why are you here in Nash Vegas?
I'm here to see the Colts win in a big AFC South showdown against the Tennessee Titans. Our luck has not been great since the great Mr. 9-0 Andrew Luck left town, but today's going to be different.
Do you think Andrew Luck did right, or is Andrew Luck a punk for leaving?
He's got $100 million in the bank. I don't blame him. I'm not going to talk poorly of Andrew Luck.
Right.
But yeah, it's an emotional topic for us.
Last thing before I let you go, you're wearing 56 Quentin Nelson. I believe, and I want your thoughts on this, I believe Quentin Nelson, the offensive line, key to the game today.
Listen, Frank Reich, if you are listening, no 7-step drops.
Right.
We cannot protect a 7-step drop, so do not call a 7-step drop.
Right, get the ball out quick. Get it out quick.
Yes.
There he is, all the way from Canada. Hey, this is in my opinion, monster college football weekend. We got some rivalries coming up, and nobody in the history, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, nobody in the history of college football was better in rivalry games than the great Urban Meyer, who you see him every Saturday on Big Noon Kickoff on Fox. And I got to tell you, I'm friends with a lot of the guys, at ESPN that run the deal, Lee Fitting and others. But Big Noon Kickoff has surpassed it in terms of football information and fun, and Urban's biggest reason why. Hey, boss, Georgia, Florida. Now, it's in Jacksonville. Walk me through, when do teams start preparing for rivalry-type games? When did you start preparing for rivalry-type games?
Well, I learned from the great Woody Hayes, and I grew up in the 1970s, in Ohio, and the coach of the Wolverines was a guy named Bo Schembechler and Woody Hayes. They called it the 10-year war from 69 to 79, and I grew up in that era, and it just became part of your DNA. And then Earl Bruce, I worked for him at Ohio State, and it was the same mentality that's not a rivalry like that one. Is not you don't go play the game and, hey, it's a big week and you know what's coming down the road. It's a year-long process. It's something that you indoctrinate. That's a beautiful thing about college sports. You get these young players, and they're 17 years old, and you get to indoctrinate them into a culture, into a way of life. And the way I've always looked at it, because I was taught that way, is that is a way of life. I remember Jerry DiNardo one time, Dan asked me, he said, so do you really, he kind of called me out on it, do you really believe you can lose every other game and win that rivalry game against the Wolverines and it's a good season? I looked him right in the eye and said, absolutely, that's correct. And the same's the opposite. You can win every other game, you lose that one, your season's a failure. And it becomes part of your culture. So we would always work on those games in off season, in spring practice, in training camp, and then even during the season, I would have a team up north period once in a while. And that means we're working on, especially when they had that unique style of defense they ran several years ago.
What about at Florida? What was, it's not as defined. Obviously, Florida, right. Georgia, you and Saban was unbelievable. How'd you approach it there?
Yeah, it's a little different. When I first got to Florida, it's Tennessee. That was the third game of the year. And then Georgia and then Florida State. And for the new blood, Florida State was a rival. For the old timers like Steve Spurrier and the real old Gators, it was all about Georgia. And Spurrier is the one that really flipped the switch on that, because Vince Dooley kind of owned the Gators for a long time. Steve Spurrier, when he was a player, they lost to him, I think, 2 or 3 times. So he came in, and that was a red letter game. That was a rivalry game. And we tried to continue that, because that is a unique game. Georgia is always loaded with talent, and the winner of that game usually wins the SEC East. So it's a little more difficult because you have 3 rivals, and then they would even consider Miami your 4th one. We played them in 08, so we actually had 4 that year. So not near as clearly defined, like you said, but still as important.
Why do you think you were so successful? What you had just said about putting a period in? I mean, you did the same thing with BYU at Utah. Why do you think your approach was so successful?
I always give credit to the players, because the players bought into the rivalry. I mean, it was there's no choice. You have to win this game. And we did the same thing with Toledo at Bowling Green. And I took exactly what I learned through the Ohio State years. Is it became, you didn't say their name. You didn't, it was, well before cell phones and well before, media just beating you up all the time. We did other cool things, but, you got to be more careful as you got closer, the last few years. So the players, first of all, we had great players. Second of all, the players bought into the rivalry.
All right, Florida, Georgia. Let's start there this weekend. What are your thoughts? Florida obviously started out great, got the big win over Utah, just okay. Georgia, terrific. Give me your thoughts on this game, Urban.
Yeah, I watched them yesterday, because I'm going to talk about it on Big Noon. And I was pleasantly surprised, because I'm a Gator fan. And they're not a bad looking team. They've lost 3 games, but they played well against Utah. You watch them, and I keep expecting it to look not good, and they are good. They're talented. The team is going to rise, and normally this is the case in football, but Anthony Richardson controls the dice in this game. He's got the dice in his hand. He plays well. I don't know if they can win because Georgia's loaded, but that's certainly not going to be. I think it's a 22-point spread. Largest, I looked this up. It's the largest point spread since they've been keeping track of this. This game should not be a 22-point spread. Now, I think Georgia's better, but if this quarterback plays well, this will be a close game. If he doesn't play well, Dan, it could be worse than that.
I never, ever, I grew up around parlay cards, my grandfather's bar, the Nuzzo family down the street. But I never looked at spreads when I was coaching. Did you ever know a spread when you were coaching? Did you ever talk about it?
Never. I wouldn't let anybody talk to, I'd hear something, I'd always say, stop. Don't even go there. That's none of our business. And I don't want that anywhere around the facility.
Yeah, it's funny. I had a kid ask me, you go around at Bowling Green, you speak to fraternities. I had a kid ask me, hey, coach, I was there on a Sunday. He goes, hey, you guys are 7-point underdog. What do you think? I go, I think you're going to go to jail. I said, don't bring that crap up to me, right? But it permeates. Do you think kids know? Do you think coaches know now, given, we have DraftKings, we have all these things? Do you think that has any influence in football now?
I hope not, man. But who knows nowadays? That was a big deal when I first started coaching. There were a couple well-documented point shaving, I guess, in basketball. And then, in football, you heard some things. Baseball, you heard things. That always horrified me. That I can't imagine that a guy on your team would purposely losing but do I think it goes on now? It would not surprise me. I just hopeful it doesn't.
We had a game, Toledo actually threw the second half of a game against us. One of their players did, and I can't remember if he went to jail, but there was a big point shaving thing. It was football and basketball at Toledo. One of the games was against us at Bowling Green, and
remember that.
a kid got convicted. Hey, you and I have talked. Penn State night game, whiteout, incredibly difficult. I'm not saying Ohio State can't beat them either way. But they don't have to play in the whiteout. Got to be a little bit of an advantage for the Buckeyes, no?
Yeah, I played in several of those, and I actually, for years, I had LSU as the most difficult stadium in the country to play. And the last couple of years, the fans do an incredible job at Penn State. 110,000 people. They're right on you. The student body is as good as I've ever witnessed as far as taking over a game. So, sure, it's an advantage to not play that. If I'm James Franklin and I'm that marketing crew, I'm somehow trying to create that same type of environment at noon, because that is a definite 7-point. If you're an inexperienced team, I think it's a 10-point advantage. If you got, if you're experienced like Ohio State, I put it at 6-7 point. That's how much that differentiates the game, the way you can't communicate. It is intimidating, especially when you're coming out, when you get stuck down there in front of the student body. It's really a tough place to play.
Hey, Urban, is there an inherent difference in a night game, and not necessarily Penn State like we just discussed, but anywhere? Is a night game more intense than a noon game? Is there a difference there?
In the SEC, it's all night games. The noon games are usually the real easy ones. That was kind of what I got used to when I was at Florida. The Big Ten is just a different mindset. They play noon games. Certainly when you start getting into late October and November, because obviously you're dealing with the weather and cold and all that. So I'd certainly say for most places, the night game ratchets it up. In the Big Ten, yeah, I think to a degree, but I think, Ohio State, the Wolverines have always played at noon for the most part. So certainly in most parts of the country, night game is much more intense.
What'd you like? Home game?
Well, for recruiting and I enjoyed the night game as I got older. You know this as well as anybody that, real quick story is that when I was at Florida, the only time you get to see your family is after a game. You know, I had my radio show on a Thursday night. That used to be my night off. I'm going to some radio show, and I don't get to see my kids. They're little. They're going to bed. I don't ever get to see them. And so as we started winning at Florida, you know, the easier games, non-conference games, they would actually ask my opinion, say, when do you want to play? And I would always say noon. And they used to give me a hard time because, I mean, noon in Gainesville in September, it's 110 heat index. And they're like, Coach, man, you know, can we play a little bit later? And I said, I want to play it at noon because, you know, I wouldn't even, after the game, I'm not showering. I go to the press conference. I go home. I want to spend time with my family that you never get. So they used to give me a hard time. There'd be people getting IVs, giving out free water at the games because it was so hot. But we'd win the game and I get the chance to go home and see my kids.
Again, I'm going to tell you this, and you know this.
I can say that.
Yeah, it was hot. It was hot for players, but players liked the noon game too because they got away from your ass for a night.
Yeah, you're right. Especially in Gainesville.
Yeah. When I went to Bowling Green, they used to play Saturday games at 7 at night. And I said, does it matter for TV? No, we're playing at noon. Because I either want to, I don't want to sit around all day and be miserable waiting on a game, right? I mean, a noon game. Let's go. Hey.
Yeah, night games at Columbus. I think they had to change the carpet in my room because I would sit and walk around that. I had a little suite in Columbus, and I would walk around that, I'm not kidding you, 5-6 hours. You'd be sitting, because what are you going to do? I can't watch TV, and so you're sitting there just playing the game over and over again in your mind.
I remember Bear Bryant was asked, what do you do on game day? He says, I fret, trying to figure out ways not to lose. And that's all I did. Hey, Tennessee is a big deal, certainly in our company, because everybody's based out of Nashville and they're all excited. Couple things I want to ask you. One, let me go back to what Nick didn't do with the wide receiver running off the field and taking a swing. What is your thought on that, and what's the process on that? And two, how good is Tennessee?
Well, let's go to the second one's easier question. I think Tennessee is really good. I think that coach is obviously a Coach of the Year candidate. I remember talking to someone that there's a correlation between a program that had those violations and getting great players and then winning a couple of years later. They said it is a really talented roster. I've not really studied Tennessee that much, but whenever you take down Alabama, I think that guy's obviously a Coach of the Year candidate. I think they're well positioned to be in this playoff. I've actually picked them to be in a playoff. So I think it's great for, first of all, college football because Tennessee's a heck of a place. The whole player, I did watch the video. I usually try to stay away from stuff like that because I don't know, exactly what the internal punishment was. So, I think Coach Saban has a pretty good track record of handling his business. And, I'm sure he will, or he did.
Coach, Tennessee plays Kentucky, and I told people this, this summer I'm up in Chicago and getting ready to play golf. Two kids come up to me, and they start asking me about Kentucky. Hey, Dan, what do you think about Kentucky? I think Kentucky's going to be great, and I'm assuming that they're talking about basketball, right? I'm like, yeah, Cal Perry does a great job. I think they'll be back. They're like, no. We're talking about football here. Can they win the SEC? I'm like, I don't even know. I mean, I know Will Levis. How difficult is it? Because Kentucky had these kind of expectations going into the season. How difficult is it for players and coaches to keep players on the focused while, for a very rare time or one of the first times, the external expectations and excitement can overwhelm them? Can you walk me through that a little bit in football?
Yeah, I think it's the number one job of a head coach, and that's to maintain, first of all, Lou Holtz used to always say this to me. I'd call him up and say, Coach, tell me about this. And his answer was always the same. Tell me what kind of team you got. Where is your team? Because there's no cookie cutter answer to anything. You know, it's a team's a living organism. It's different tomorrow than it was the day before. You have to know your team, and the best job, you know, my strength coaches always had the pulse of our team. So, yeah, that number one responsibility is having that team game ready when the foot hits the ball, and that I'm not necessarily talking about tackling and blocking. It's the mindset. You know, Kentucky has never, you know, there's been some really good teams over the years at Kentucky. But what Mark Stoops has done at Kentucky, arguably, is unprecedented what he's done. And all of a sudden, I get asked the same questions. Can Kentucky win the conference? How about Kentucky? You know, before you just didn't hear much about them, even though they had some good teams. So it's, you know, this is going to be a huge opportunity. And I don't put it past Kentucky to make this thing close in Knoxville.
How good is Levis?
I think really good. I think he's a pro. I think he's a really, really good player.
How do you know, who was I talking to the other day about preparing for Alabama, and they were talking about how different Alabama is. When you've been Alabama, you've been the number one deal. It's the one thing I always loved about playing basketball in Indiana. Everywhere you went, it was the biggest game. Do you take anything away from Alabama because a kid in an incredible environment kicks a game-winning field goal? Is Alabama exposed in any way on the field?
I think more so the week before. You know, I think there's a human element now to when they went down to the wire against Texas A&M was really struggling right now. I think, you know, the mindset of a player is as such, more importantly than even a coach, but the most important thing is darn players. And they see Texas A&M take Alabama to the 15th round in a street fight, you know, think, wait a minute, we can do that. We're better than A&M. When they see a school like Tennessee beat them, then all of a sudden now the blood's in the water, the sharks start to circle a little bit saying, we can do this. And another quick story, apologize for quick stories, but we're getting ready to play Alabama in 2014, the unbeatable Alabama. And we beat Wisconsin the week before 59-0 in the Big Ten championship. Wisconsin, 2 hours before we get on the bus to go play Alabama, beats Auburn. That was the best pregame speech I've ever given in my life. And I didn't say much. The players did, because they saw Wisconsin, the team that we really beat badly, beat Auburn, and Auburn should have beat Bama that same week. So what everybody looks for is there a chance? You know, because going into a street fight with your mindset is no chance, you're going to get killed. If you go into a street fight and say, you know what, I can beat this guy. We can beat this guy. You've been around these players. You get a mindset like that, you not only can, you might. And you probably will if you got the right mindset.
Did you ever walk onto a field? Because you would walk and look at the other team. Did you ever walk in a big game, you know, and look at another team and go, they're not right, we're going to whip their ass? Or did you ever walk on and go, shoot, they're a lot bigger, better than I thought they were?
All the time. All the time. I used to look at LSU and Georgia back in the day were the best looking teams by far. And I remember one time, my first year in the SEC, when I got educated on how good those cats are we're playing against, especially defensive linemen. I go out there in pregame warmups and I look at LSU's guys at LSU. Their pants are so tight. They look like they're going to rip out of them. The veins on their arms. And I remember looking at our offensive line coach. I say, come here for a minute. How in the hell are you going to block those guys right there? And, you know, I'm not the most positive guy in the world at the point because we weren't very good at the time. But, oh, hell yeah, I do that all the time. Did that all the time.
Was there a difference? I'm not sure I've ever asked you this. Was there a difference when, and I'm not trying to get you to disparage anybody in the Big Ten, but you come from all of that, LSU, Georgia, your guys at Florida, pro left, pros everywhere, and then you come to the Big Ten. Was there a difference in that type of thing, the size, the strength, the speed? Did you immediately see it?
Well, the Big Ten is much improved. In 2012, all you had to do was look at the NFL draft. In my opinion, the Big Ten wasn't very good. You know, we were our team included. We were good. We went 12-0. But we weren't like they are now, where they're just, you know, like you said, there'll probably be 4 or 5 first rounders on Ohio State's team. And I think Penn State elevated recruiting. I think the Wolverines elevated recruiting for a while there. Michigan State, Iowa, Wisconsin were way up there. But this is kind of a down year in the Big Ten. And to answer your question, there was a difference. When I went from the SEC to the Big Ten, notable difference. I think it kind of caught the Big Ten kind of caught the SEC there for a while. I haven't studied the SEC enough this year, but there was times where, you saw Penn State go down there and really beat up an Auburn team. Obviously, we went and beat Alabama in that championship game. So there's been some big wins, but the SEC top to bottom is still the strongest conference. And the easiest way to analyze that is next May in the NFL draft.
You've always said that, right? You evaluate, you're not only the conference, your team, but your coaches based on the NFL draft.
Always. It's a very evaluation-friendly business we're in. Did you win the game, and did you guys get drafted? If no one knows.
Speaking of, by the way, you can tell as many stories as you want because they're freaking great. I mean, I tell stories about nothing. I mean, you tell them whatever you want. I did watch you, and I was with you on this. You had UCLA fourth. I'm like, yeah, because I've been watching UCLA, and I thought UCLA was really freaking good. I did. And then you verified it for me. They didn't play so good, Coach.
No, I think that's a credit to think about what Oregon did. They got blown out by completely unprepared looking team. That coach Lanning has done a phenomenal job. I guess I'm allowed to do that now because I'm on TV. But yeah, I picked UCLA. I thought UCLA looked fantastic on film. The quarterback, the offensive physicalness, and they got beat up pretty good on Autzen Stadium in Oregon.
I swear to God, I'm watching, and I was thinking before the game, like, man, I always try to think who's going to be in the college football playoff, right? And I had said on every one of my shows, I guarantee you UCLA is going to be right there at the end. Then I heard you say it on Saturday, and man, I was high-fiving myself like I'm pretty freaking smart. You're like
a weatherman or weatherwoman. It's a chance of showers, and we were wrong. Move on.
Hey. Is the West Coast out of the conversation for the college football playoff right now?
No. I think Oregon does not play USC, so that means that they're going to have to play each other in that championship game, and if they both win, there's a chance the winner of that game goes. And I think they're both really good teams. I think the winner goes to the playoff. That'll be over a one-loss SEC or a two-loss SEC or Big Ten. So there's going to be a big fight for that now, that fourth spot.
Can Michigan and Ohio State both get in?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I think if it's a close game, it has to be a really, really close game. It has to be a really close game. The answer is yes. It has to be a really close game.
Hey, last thing, and I'll let you go. When you look across the board, everybody says that Urban Meyer changed the Big Ten. All right, you changed it. What did you change?
Well, I'm not sure I changed much. I'd like to think that, I've heard over the years that we expanded the footprint of recruiting, and you went after the top guys, not just the regional guys. And that we got a little pushback early in our career when you're going to get players out of Florida. I mean, not just players, but the best players. We went into Georgia and got the top two players in Georgia. We went into Texas and got the top two or three players in Texas a couple times. And Coach Day's continuing that. So I just like to think that we pushed everyone really hard to nationally recruit. Go get the best players, not just the players in your footprint, because that's what's happened. Is the world is, you can get anywhere rather quickly, and players are, willing to move. So I'd like to think, and I've heard the stories that we forced Ohio State and our coaching staff, the aggressive recruiting across the nation, forced everyone else. And I think you look across the Big Ten now, and you can see it.
last thing. Will we see you in Vegas or Venice Beach in the National Pickleball, I'm not saying championships, but tournaments? Will you become, I don't know about a professional, but a high-end, let's go 50 and over pickleball tournament participant?
As a spectator, I'd love to, but it's not good enough. I'd love to. I mean, it's a great. Kent Merker, my buddy from the former Major League Baseball player, is a legit pro. I played with him the other day, and I got a lesson how far I really am from being anywhere competitive about that. Great sport, though. Great sport.
My wife and I bragged that we were going to be the over 50 champs. That lasted about a minute and a half when some guy that knew what they were doing. Like, hey, appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for everything. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Doc.
That's the great Urban Meyer right there. I mean, I'm telling you, he's the best thing on TV, man. You turn on Saturday morning TV, you watch his breakdowns on High Noon, Big Noon. It's incredible. It is. It's absolutely incredible, and that'll be the best breakdown that you hear all year. What a great day we've had today, man. Bella Rasmussen came on. She's a young lady, scored 2 touchdowns in a high school football game out in California. The great Aaron Spielberg and Dylan Taylor getting that done. Urban Meyer coming on, getting you ready for it. It's a monster weekend. Penn State taking on Ohio State, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky. You kidding me? My big fat you-know-what will be at a wedding where it's actually costumes optional. So I might wear, I don't know. Give me your costume idea for me at a wedding in Chicago this weekend. All right, we come back. We got some more. I got the damn awards. You're not going to believe what happened in the New England Patriots game the other day. How about Russell Wilson? Sit your ass down. I got all kind of stuff. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, it's Tommy. Don't forget to check out Outkick.com for all of your exclusive content and Tommy Lahren is Fearless episodes. But in case you missed an episode, here's what you missed. Political violence is something we used to hear about happening in less civilized, less free, less democratic nations, but not anymore. Not only are the streets as filthy and lawless as a third world nation, the way in which we go after our political enemies has also evolved into one disgusting dustbin of unacceptable filth. From the advent of the sham BLM Burn This Bitch Down movement in 2014 to the entire summer and then some of riots in 2020, all the way to the one and only day Democrats will condemn and acknowledge, January 6th, it's easy to see political civility and basic decency have gone out the window and down the crapper. And yes, I will acknowledge conservatives are not blameless in this. That one day in January wasn't a bright moment for the movement, even though it was one day. Meet Dylan Mulvaney, a so-called transgender activist who, before it became all the rage to suffer from gender dysmorphia, was a self-described gay man. Well, not anymore. Now he dresses up as a woman and essentially makes fun of what it is to be a woman. Take a look.
I did manage to sneak into dance classes at age 3, and for years I was the only boy at the dance studio. I loved Barbies and singing on the coffee table and dress up. I went to Catholic school and I was such a good Catholic kid. I would sing in the choir and be like, "Shepherd me, oh God." Day 74 of being a girl, round of applause for the makeup. And I wore this outfit shopping today, and I thought that these might be my new shopping shorts. But I was walking around and everyone was staring and I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? And they were all staring directly at my crotch. And I went, oh, I forgot that my crotch doesn't look like other women's crotches sometimes because mine doesn't look like a little Barbie pocket.
In another clip, Dylan described himself as a bimbo and a Barbie. Let's just take a step back for a moment and just take this all in. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on Outkick.com as I'm joined by pitching legend and our good friend Curt Schilling. You don't want to miss this.
Hey, my man Urban Meyer always delivers. I mean, he does. He just always delivers, and it is the best. It is. High Big Noon Kickoff is the absolute best. All right, let's get into some stuff here today. The Don't At Me Awards. I don't know if you saw this, but Mac Jones got benched after an interception. Video has come out about maybe why that interception happened. This is the how in the hell can this possibly happen? Let's show the video of Mac Jones's interception. How about that? It hits a wire. That's the wire of the camera that they took, ESPN and others, took from the XFL. Mac Jones throwing a pass. That wire goes from end to end, sideline to sideline, and it has that remote camera, and it slides along. Well, it didn't get out of the way. Now, ESPN is saying that that's not what happened, and I would too, but how in the hell does this happen? How in the hell does this even come close to happen? Look, I don't know whether it did or didn't, but that video evidence right there suggests at least that it did. And let me ask you, Dylan just made reference to this. A lot of money changes hands when coaches pull quarterbacks, particularly in the NFL. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you had Mac Jones. Passing yards. That ball, if in fact it did, and it certainly looks like it did, getting tipped up there, changed the direction, slowed it down, boom, interception. What happened when Mac Jones got picked off? Contrary to what Bill Belichick would like you to believe, after that interception, Mac Jones got pulled. Mac Jones got pulled, and Mac Jones was out. So those of you that bet on Mac Jones, you gone. And Zappy comes in. Now, look, I don't know. Video can be deceiving. I said this going 1,000 years ago. Don't tell me that replay is the end-all, be-all. Visible evidence, certainly, replay evidence can be changed, distorted, and I'm sure there's other views of that. But how in the hell can it even come close to happen in a billion dollar entity like the NFL? All right. We all know these people. We all know people that when you're on a flight are complete pains in the ass. We all know them. We don't like them. We see them. We know them. Maybe it's a guy that puts its seat back. Maybe it's the little kid kicking against your chair. Maybe it's the mother, I don't know, that brings on, well, not a mother. Maybe it's a wife, husband, whatever, that bring on a bunch of snacks that smell up the plane. I was going to say a mother feeding her kids because that's what we usually used to do, but I got to tell you, it's not always them because I used to bring snacks all the time and be like, here, kids, shut up and eat. Maybe it's the guy that takes his shoes off and stinks up the whole airplane. You know that guy. Maybe it's someone that brings on some smelly-ass gyros onto the plane, and now we got to sniff his tzatziki sauce. Or maybe it's Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, can you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride? I understand you're this weird dude. I understand that you want to prove to everybody you work harder. I understand that you want to prove to everybody that you're all in. I get it. We all get it. Who doesn't understand that? Who doesn't understand insecure people? I certainly understand insecure people. We all understand insecure people. All right? We do. But don't do it in front of your teammates. So here's what Russell Wilson did. Is he the most obnoxious plane passenger ever? He says he worked out and stretched for 4 of the 8 hours on the team's flight, Denver-London. He said he was doing high knees in the aisle when the rest of the guys were sleeping. Now, I got to tell you, that's great. Yay, rock. Go fight, win. Stretch. Sit in the aisle. Put a towel down. Stretch. But there's no reason to be doing high knees. There's no reason to be doing this. You know what you get out of that? You get people that don't like you. You get people that don't want to be around you. You get people that think you're a fraud. Stretch if you must. 8-hour flight, professional athlete. Eat right, hydrate, stretch. No problem. But do we got to do high knees in the airplane? Do we got to bother everybody? I don't know. Who knows? I guarantee you this. What's today? Basically, let's say November 1st. All right. From this day until I don't know, the end of the season, you probably won't hear anything about it. But the world that we live in, everybody can't shut the living hell up. So eventually his teammates are going to come out, man, Russell Wilson, oh, he did that, blah, 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 blah. We've already seen it with the idiot Richard Sherman and other assorted idiots talking about Russell Wilson. I got no respect for it. People always ask me to write a book. They always ask me to write a book, all right? I ain't writing a book because there's nothing I've done that's interesting enough to stand on its own as a book. I would have to out people, tell stories that maybe don't make certain people look flattering. I ain't doing that. So you'll see, I don't know, about April 1st, you'll see these clowns on his own team will come out and rip him. Bah. Oh, man. Dylan is a genius. Dylan is our producer. And Dylan, I should have named this what the hell did you expect? I named it the McWhat. I don't know about you. Some people are shocked to see how the McRib is cooked, and others aren't really that surprised. Let's give you a little taste, see what I did there, of how the McRib at McDonald's is prepared. First, we get these frozen, nasty things. Here we go. These nasty frozen slates of sort of ribs. We put them on the griddle. Now, what'd you think? What'd you think? They had USDA choice cattle that they were slicing up? Of course not.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell this thing is, but whatever it is, it's holding on to the McRib. So you got the McRib. Then you just dip it in the sauce for a little bit. Now, some people are appalled by this. I would answer, what in the hazel did you think was happening? What did you think they were doing? Did you think this was Fast Eddie's Rib Shop where they were smoking them up all day? Stop it. The McRib. I love the McRib. This does not deter me even a little bit from eating the McRib. Does it deter you? Yeah, get that secret sauce on there. Spread it around there. Oh, what the hell that stuff is. The hell's that? Oh, the sando. Oh, yeah, the bread. I forgot. You don't just eat the McRib. Oh, yeah. Slide that baby on there. The bigger question is, what's the meat? The bigger question is that some old cow's foot, neck. I don't know. What do you think? It is kind of gross, but my question is, what is it? It's a McWhat? The hell is it? I don't know. Some of you say you won't eat it. Some of you say you don't care. Let me give you a hint. A few years ago, I lost some money. First day of the NCAA tournament, I lost $4,000 on the day. Gambling's most I've ever bet, ever lost. I was with buddies. I just lost my mind, so I had to make it up to my family. I started door dashing, and I got to tell you, when you door dash, many times you got to go through a delivery to get a delivery entrance, and you see the kitchen. I did it several times downtown Indianapolis. I'm not going to name the restaurants, but my God, there are very, very few that I would ever go into to eat. We say we want to see what's going on. You don't want to see what's going on. You don't want to see Slappy Johnny smoking 16 cigarettes and weed in the alley behind the Capitol Grill. Not saying Capitol Grill employees were doing it. They weren't. The place next to it was. I'm not going to say its name. You don't need any of that. None. Zero. Zip. Nada. Nay, nay. No. We don't need it. We don't want it. No. You don't need to know how the sausage is made. You just need to eat the sausage. Period. No. No. All right, this is be careful what you wish for, people. I have a couple sayings in my life. Be careful what you wish for, and no good deed goes unpunished. Try doing a good deed for someone and see if you ever get away from them. Urban Meyer did a good deed for me today by coming on the show. It ain't going unpunished. He's going to get a text from me asking him to now retweet the show. McAfee was on the show. McAfee did a nice thing for me, right? Well, guess what? He got a text from me saying, hey, can you retweet it? Because when they retweet it with their 1 million followers, we get a lot of views. We get a lot of people coming to the show. No good deed goes unpunished. And be careful what you wish for. Look, Aaron Boone did not play great, did not hit great in the playoffs. Hit a big home run, Game 5 against the Guardians. But you know what? Next series against the Astros, and it was a big series, don't get me wrong. Biggest for the Yankees in a long time. He struggled. All right, so you know what happened to Aaron Boone, if you can believe this? Aaron Boone was met with some boos in his last at-bat as a Yankee, even during his record-breaking season. Now, Yankee stupid is going to say, oh, it's New York, man. That's how we do. We expect a lot out of our sports stars. Shut up. Go eat your pizza folded up. Shut up. Go tell me how the Garden's the only place to play basketball, man. Shut up. Shea Stadium's the real stadium. It's not Yankee Stadium. And by the way, this Yankee Stadium sucks. Old Yankee Stadium was better. Shut up. Be careful what you wish for. Because if you're wishing and you're booing and you're thinking that Aaron Judge out of New York does anything for the New York Yankees, you're insane. Said it earlier, I'll say it again. There isn't one damn thing interesting about the New York Yankees except Aaron Judge. You're telling me a starting pitcher, give it a name, but hey, salute, Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright, Javier Molina, is that his name? I think it's Javier Molina. Molina, Wainwright, most starts, battery mates, that kind of thing. Molina's out. And Adam Wainwright, at 41 years old, is going to continue to play. According to me likey. Me likey a lot. I don't like it a little bit. There is never a reason to quit. Why are you going to quit? Because some pizza-stained media peasant tells you, hey, look, your legacy is going to be hindered. I don't want you looking like Willie Mays with the Mets. So what you want? Go eat another slice, you ridiculous lying media person, you. Play forever. And let me tell you something. Willie Mays, playing center field for the Mets, probably had a great time playing center field for the Mets. One of the hardest things to do in sports is to give up your position in sports. I always said, Bob Knight loved being Bob Knight. There you go, the geriatric award. Bob Knight didn't give a rat's ass about coaching in my last years with him. He didn't care at all. What he cared about was living the lifestyle that being Bob Knight accompanied him. I guarantee you, if I'd have asked Philip Fulmer or Urban or anybody that was a high-end basketball coach or football coach, they would say, man, that lifestyle was great. Hell, I was the head coach at Indiana for like 2 weeks. It was unbelievable. Private jets everywhere I went. I could tell the stupidest joke and some dumbass would laugh. It was fantastic. 41 years old, you still got a little something in that arm. Play, baby, play. All right, I'm going to hit on this again. And I may not ever stop hitting on this again. Can all of you folks out there, whether you are in the national media, politics, sports, entertainment, that have international appeal, just shut the living hell up about Brittany Griner? If you want to talk about Brittany Griner, talk about Brittany Griner. But don't talk about Brittany Griner in the sense that she is, quote, unlawfully detained. That has blanked off the Kremlin. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you know this, the Kremlin and Russia have control over Brittany Griner. So why would you try to blank somebody off? It's like a guy or a girl trying to get their spouse back by saying mean, hurtful things to them because you'll show them and they'll eventually come back. You can be indignant, Steph Curry, and get all kind of cheers holding a microphone saying that, hey, look, Brittany Griner is unlawfully detained in Russia. And you can get all the little minions and go, oh my God, he's a justice warrior. And you know what the Kremlin goes? Niet. That means, I think, no. No, we're not letting her out. And the Kremlin has now said this. Look, if you want to discuss the release of Brittany Griner, shut the living hell up. It's one of the many, many reasons you cannot have a weak president. It is one of the many, many reasons that there has to be a little bit of fear and a lot of respect for the people leading the country, our country, instead of a weak-minded, dawdling moron who is what we currently have strutting around. Now, if you understand that, great. If you don't understand that, great. But it's the truth. Period. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know how else to tell you. You can continue to say and talk, and it just ain't gonna work out for her. So if you want her out, talk about how great she is, do what you need to do, but for the love of God, don't insult the people that you are trying to get her out from. It just makes complete sense. I'm sorry, but it does. Period. Again, cheap clapping, people saying, wow, she's unlawfully detained. I can say it. No one's paying attention to me over in Russia. No one's paying attention, but they are paying attention to what our government says, what our vice president says, what our president says, what our sports star says, what other politicians say, what our media says, and what our entertainers say. The people with a wide swath. I try to help you. I try to help. Doesn't always work. People don't always want to listen. I completely understand. But if you're on the side of Brittany Griner, which I am, take my advice and stop with the unlawfully detained nonsense. There you go. All right. Who do we have, ladies and gentlemen? Who do we have as our woke a dope today? What do we got going on?
Decision. Some airlines, if you want 6 more inches between you and the seat in front, you pay more money. But you don't know it until you purchase your ticket. Look, folks, these are junk fees. They're unfair and they hit marginalized Americans the hardest, especially low-income folks and people of color. They benefit big corporations, not consumers.
Everything has to be about race. Everything does. And if you, in fact, are doing anything and you're looking at anything that President Obama says now, it is 1,000% pandering to get votes. Not all black people are poor. Not all white people are rich. If there are fees, then cut them. If there is things, then do it. But I sit here and I listen to, what's his name, Biden, a.k.a. Obama holder, and I say to myself, man, everything has to be about race right now because the pandering has begun. Remember, midterms are coming up. I hate to say it this way, But there is nothing that man can say about things of importance that I'm going to pay any attention to because I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing. I know what the NBA is doing, the NFL is doing, Kamala Harris is doing. They're pandering. So, hey, look, President Biden, if this, what you're saying is true, then do something about it. What are you going to do about it? We'll see if he does something about it. Or is he just pandering? What's he going to do? If you want 6 inches more of legroom, I guess that's called first class. I don't know. Maybe they should cut out first class. Seems racist to me. Seems bigoted. Class? What? No. I just can't take the guy seriously. I simply cannot do it. Particularly now. Actually, there are very few people that I can take seriously now because the pandering is so ridiculous. Why do we want to keep people down? Why do we want to keep people dependent on the government? That's really what these folks are saying. What Biden and others say is, look, minorities, we're here for you. But as Charles Barkley said, man, Democrats, black people keep voting for Democrats, and they're still poor. That's Charles Barkley quote. And is he wrong? If you're going to continue to rely on the government's best goal for you is just a little bit of breathing room. How many times have we heard it? That's their goal. That's this administration's goal for you. You know, back when Trump was the president, and I didn't vote for Trump, I voted for me, a true story. But back when Trump was president, minority jobs through the roof, minority wages through the roof. That's helping people. Making people reliant on a government is not helping anybody but the government, the people in power. They get to keep their power because they've duped you. Man, I don't anticipate as big a red wave as others do because I believe in the nastiness, the deceitfulness, the flat out cheating that goes on in elections. I've seen it my whole life. So I don't believe anything until I, quote, see the bodies of the winner, the bodies of the loser. But if you want government to continue to fight your battles and make you rich, just remember, that man's goal is for you to just get a little more breathing room. I know you don't like the saying, and you hate the hat, and you beat people up, but the goal of the other side is to make our country great again. I don't know. Put America first again. I don't know. It seems like to me, if I were paying attention, and oh, by the way, I am, that just a little more breathing room as an ultimate goal, number one, never works, obviously. And number two is so pandering and so demeaning to so many people. Like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the rest have to provide just a little breath. Whereas the other side saying, hey, look, let's go. Let's get the stock market going. Let's get minority jobs going. Let's get this rocking and rolling. Oh, man. I got a big nose. It's as clear as the nose on my face. And I don't know how. Look, I got people all day today. Last thing, I got people all day. I'll try to find them. All day today. Calling me Quan or calling me different names. Dan, you are a lunatic. Yes, I am a lunatic. You sold out, man. All one-sided. Used to love your commentary. Still do for the most part. Politics is not a one. Great. Didn't say it was. Just giving you stuff. It's amazing to me how people get so offended. It's amazing to me how people don't want to have conversation. It's amazing to me when you put out something that looks like it's right-leaning, people don't want to converse, they want to criticize. It's amazing to me. What happened to you, Dakich? D-A-Q-I-C-H. All right. All right. That's fine. Now giving air to absurd conspiracy theories. Didn't think you could sink much lower. Damn shame. All right. All I did was put out what a sitting state representative, Ralph Norman, said. And I got to tell you, if you've paid attention like I have, you know about the oligarchy. You do. You know about elitists. Let me ask you a question. Just simple question. You know, that lady, Ghislaine Maxwell, is in jail for, I don't know, trafficking kids. Who'd she traffic them to? Who? I mean, we've seen other people go to jail for being the trafficker. I mean, I remember that idiot Subway Jared. He's in jail for sex trafficking because he participated in sex with minors, cross state lines, sex workers. So nobody did, but a lady and a guy, Maxwell and Epstein, went to jail? Of course there's an oligarchy. Of course there is an elitist cabal. Read for yourself. Stop worrying about what other people say. Figure it out. Listen to people that actually are unbiased. People say that I'm a big time right-leaning. No, I'm not. Look, last two presidential elections, no chance was I going to vote for Trump, Hillary, or Biden. I voted for this guy. I pay attention. I look, I see, and I encourage you to do it as well. Great stuff today, Aaron. Great stuff today, Dylan and Ryan, Davey, everybody involved. Thank you so much for watching, listening, being on the YouTube chat. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Urban Meyer was great. Retweet the interview if you don't mind. Bella Rasmussen, fantastic. Do the same. We'll see you tomorrow.